Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Kerry and I love all things makeup and beauty related, especially eyeshadow palettes, and especially when those eyeshadow palettes are colourful and indie brands. So that is what we're playing with today. I had to go back into the MUSE palette with cosmic brushes, but also pair it with its sexy sister palette, the Serenity, which was my favourite of last year. So if that's of interest to you, stick around and subscribe. So I have really enjoyed playing with the MUSE palette. I do have a first impressions with this, and I also have a 3-look video, which I will link somewhere for you if you're interested in seeing those. But I wanted to go back into it again, and this time I wanted to pair it with the Serenity, because like I said, the Serenity was my absolute favourite palette of last year, not just colour story wise, but formula wise, everything wise. Look at these beauties together. Now there are some similarities in both. They are not dupes, they're definitely different shades. So I'm excited to pair these together and see what look we come up with today. So I'm going to prime with my Natasha Denona eyeshadow base, and I should have everything linked in the description box that I'm using today if you're interested. And I am in the middle of doing a foundation wear test, so don't look too closely at my skin right now because I don't know if it's my favourite. Also, if the camera angle looks a little bit different to my previous videos, I did accidentally break my camera stand. So my lovely dad saved the day and gave me a different one so I could still film while he Frankenstein repairs the old one. But actually I don't know if I prefer this one now. I might see if I can do a little swapsy. And I must not forget to drink my coffee because my coffee is now £7 instead of £5 apparently, thanks to Tesco. So looking at these two palettes, I think the main difference is this one, the Serenity, it has blues and it has this gorgeous sort of like lilac-y, periwinkly type of shade, and it has some brighter pops of pastels. The MUSE is a lot more muted of a colour story, a lot more toned down, but also absolutely flipping delicious. So what are we going to do? I think I'm going to start out with the MUSE palette, and I think I'm going to start out with the shade Petal, which is this one here. I'm using my Cosmic Brushes eye brush set that I got as well, which I've been really enjoying. I would like to pick up another one of these, like this exact set, because it is beautiful. But we'll start out with this kind of muted, dusky pink, sort of toward the outer corner and in the crease area, and just build that up so we get a nice bit of pink out here. And I will be putting another shade on top of this because the Cosmic Brushes shadows are very buildable as well as blendable. So just wanted to start out with this one first and do things a little bit differently. Sometimes I do like to start out with my deepest shade to begin with, but not always. I like to mix things up a bit and not do things exactly the same every time. I have had my hair done, by the way. Thank you for noticing. I know that you was noticing. Thank you. I do have my Rogue stripes in the front and I am loving them. I'm ready for spring and summer, even if the weather in the UK isn't. Okay, so now that shade is down, I feel like I want to go into the shade... what shade do I want to go into? Pixie from the Serenity palette. And we're going to pop that on the outer corner on top of this dusky pink, because as much as I do love a muted look, bright and vibrant is my absolute favourite, especially when it's greens or purples. Look at those tones together. That's actually working a lot nicer together than I imagined in my mind. So okay, I will definitely go back in with the pink as well after I've plopped this one on to make sure that I'm happy with how they are blended and looking. But wow, so far, wow. And considering I didn't start out with this purple shade and I'm putting this on top of that dusky pink, look at the payoff and the pigment. Back in with no extra product on the first brush I started with, just to start to work on a blend so that these two look seamless and beautiful. Back and forth, back and forth. That is the way to go between the shades and the brushes. Not adding too much extra pigment to the brush and just trying to work on a nice blend. And I don't always do these little circular motions and things that is the typical thing. I just kind of sometimes just pat and sort of swipe in tiny motions, not necessarily a full rotation of a circle. Does that make sense? Am I just talking crap? Should I shut up? Then I think I'm going to go in with a little bit of Awake from Serenity, and then I'm going to finally go into a little bit of Echo, I think, just to add a little pop of blue. So going into Awake next, which is a gorgeous sort of lilac-y, periwinkly blue shade. And that should bridge the gap between this purple and this light blue that I'm going to be putting on really nicely. These tones together. Honestly, the colour stories of these palettes just make my heart so, so happy. These shades are kick-uppy in the pan in both of these palettes, so please bear that in mind if that's something that really does bother you. But I'm obsessed with this shade. I could just put this all over the lid, pop on a little bit of mascara for spring, and just out of the house. Then I'm going to go into that light blue shade that is called Echo, and I'm just going to pop this toward the inner corner leading into that periwinkle shade. Look at these tones together. Is this not the most beautiful colour combination that you have ever seen? What is this? Get off my face, thank you. And I'm thinking maybe a little bit of opal on top of this light blue in the inner corner. Opal is the iridescent shade that is in the Serenity palette, and it just sits on top of any other matte shade beautifully, and it transforms it a little bit. And it's not the most opaque, so it will sit really nicely on top of this blue. Look at this colour combination. I am just going to run the same shades along the lower lash line just so it makes sense and we are a little bit matching what is going on above. I could have done something totally different, but I don't want to introduce too many shades. But I'm thinking I've only used one shade from the Muse palette to create this look, so I'm thinking if I go in with one of the deeper shades just to deepen up the outer corner slightly, like you don't need to do that, especially if it's a nice spring look. It would look beautiful just leaving it at this depth, but if you know me, you know I love a bit of depth, and I definitely will still want to use some more shades from the Muse palette. So I think with the Muse palette I'm going to go in with a little bit of the shade called Fig, which is the deepest shade in this palette. Obviously there is a black in Serenity, so you could definitely use that one. You could just totally use the Serenity palette for this look. You don't have to have the Muse palette, so if you didn't manage to get your hands on it, you can definitely do something similar to this with just the Serenity and use the black instead of this Fig shade. And the pink that we began with in the Muse palette, you could definitely use a different tone from Serenity for that as well. But just adding that little bit of extra depth in the outer corner. I do like to have some depth in my looks because it gives the look dimension. It doesn't look all the same across the eye, and it adds a little bit more interest in my opinion. I am loving how this is looking, like I have to say. These tones together are just making me so happy. So like I say, I'm going to go back into the Serenity, and I am going to go into a little bit of the opal shade for the inner corner here, which is the iridescent shade, and that will sit beautifully on top of that blue. I don't know what else to use. Okay, so going into opal, and I have sprayed it, and I just want a little bit of this on the inner corner. Look at it. I knew it was going to do this. Like, that is stunning. Like, look at the difference. Wow. Just dragging it a little bit onto the lower lash line just to create a little bit more dramatic effect. Of course, you can tone this down and you don't have to do that. But look at that shade. Like I say, that opal shade is a little bit transparent, so whatever you're popping it on top of, it will pick up on that, and that was a good decision, Kerry. That was a very good decision. Then I think I'm going to go back into the Muse palette, and I think the shade I want to use is maybe a little bit of Muse, because I really did enjoy this shade when I was doing my 3 looks, and maybe we'll use a little bit of Amethyst as well. So I've got Muse on my brush, and I am just going to pop it over the centre of the lid, and I did spray this shade just because I don't want any fallout, and it does seem to help metallic-y shadows just pop that little bit more. That is looking very pretty. Then I'm going to flip my brush over and go into that Amethyst shade, which was the deep purple, and I'm just going to pop that between the matte and the shimmer just to bridge the gap out here. Then I'm going to go back into Muse because I don't want a harsh line like we've got at the minute. I want to merge these two mattes together, so I will be using a little bit more of both and then just flipping my brush over and going in between them to make sure that they are blended. Okay guys, I think this is more or less going to be the eyeshadow. Let me jump off and do the finishing touches. Okay, I am a little bit obsessed with this look. I thought I was going to be, because if I'm using anything with Serenity, that is my happy place. These colours together, combined, absolutely delicious. I kind of feel like I need to change my top now though, because I'm not really matching. I did just go in with some Arttitude Cosmetics lashes. I'm not sure if I'll be able to link these or if they're still available, but that is the brand that I used and they were gifted to me. I also used for my lip the MUA lip liner in, what is this in? Heartfelt, and the Doll Beauty lipstick in Get Lippy. And oh, I did pop a little bit of the About Face lip gloss on top in Please Obey. And I went in my waterline with Prance. Now I think you can only get this in a set at the moment. It did come back on its own for you to purchase, but I think it sold out almost immediately, because anybody that watches Angelica Nyqvist knows how much she loves this and recommends it. So when it came back into stock just as a single gel liner from Colourpop, everybody wanted it. But yeah, it is in one of the packs still. I'm really loving this look. I love these two palettes and I really, really enjoy Cosmic brushes. The three palettes that they have released so far that I own and have tried, I love so much. The colour stories, the formula, the fact that they're a UK-based indie brand. I mean, just the fact that their palettes keep selling out again and again and again and again and again. It just says it all. I feel like the customer service, everything that I have seen has been fantastic. The only annoying thing is how popular these palettes are, so that so many people are struggling to get their hands on them, which is not really a bad thing for the brand. That means that they're doing super well. Please let me know what you think to this look combining the two palettes. Is there anything else you want me to do with these palettes? I could also dig out the Royal Rose palette, which is the first release that they ever did, and pair that with both of these palettes, one of these palettes. Let me know your thoughts down below, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with me for this video. Hopefully it was mildly entertaining and somewhat informative. I will have all of my socials linked down below, as well as my YouTube membership and my Patreon group. Thank you again, guys, and hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye.